Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another review. Up today it is another diesel from Dapol. I don't know about you, but when I think of Dapol locomotives, I think of their historical models from yesteryear. In terms of steam, I think about Terriers and their D-Class and the Great Western steamers that they've produced. And when I think of diesels, I think of the Class 52s and the Class 22s. I don't think of super modern image locomotives such as the Class 68 right here. But of course this is a staple in Dapol's range, and boy oh boy have a lot of people requested this. In fact, on basically any video I make around Dapol, there's always at least one comment asking me to review the Class 68. And just recently Dapol have released a new batch of the Class 68, and so I did not hesitate in picking this one up. Now, like most of Dapol's locomotives, the price for this seems incredibly reasonable. The RRP is £159.99 and I bought mine from Hatton's for a discounted price of £135.99. And if you are interested in getting one of these, I will include some affiliate links down in the description. And I think I said this on the last Dapol review I did, but in a world where £169.99 is considered a good price for a modern diesel, then £135 for this seems like an absolute steal. Now, I've heard that these models are absolutely amazing, and I'm hoping that's the case, but as of yet I've never experienced a Dapol Class 68, so I'm not going to go ahead and tell you this is an incredible model yet, but I'm sure hoping it will be. I can tell you the box is extremely heavy. I'd be very surprised if this wasn't a very, very hefty loco indeed. And I think that's a very good starting point, isn't it? So come along with me, jump on board, let's take a look together at the Dapol Class 68. So it's starting out well in terms of weight and also in terms of packaging, because as always from Dapol we've got this very hard and sturdy outer box, which generally speaking does a great job of protecting models, so that's good to see. Let me show you the end of the box then. So the exact 68 I have is 4D-022-021. It's a 00 gauge Class 68. This one is splendid, number 68027, and it is in the TransPennine Express livery. And also notice that the minimum recommended curve radius is radius 1. That is pretty much the tightest standard curve you can buy. And this loco apparently is compatible with them, which is really impressive. And of course my layout has nothing tighter than second, so this should be absolutely fine. Right, there's not a lot to see on the back of the box, so I think we can lift the lid for the first time and take a look. I have heard so much about this loco from Dapol. I just can't wait to finally get my own look at it and find out really what they are like. So we've got some paperwork on top here. Let's have a look at the top one then. So I think I've picked up the less interesting first. This is a DCC guide, so I will just show you this briefly. Yeah, it just talks about the different functions and such and the different decoders. Yeah, I'm not going to go into that because mine is DCC ready. It's just an analog loco. So noticeably this is missing the high production value brochure that most of Dapol's locos come with. I guess this must have been done before that. There we go, Dapol 68 Owner's Guide. Just a little brief introduction there. Yeah, you can run it on DC, DCC, a little bit about the lighting and also where to find DCC fitting instructions. Running in, first use, no special running in or lubrication is required. Dapol always say this on their instructions, and yet it is Dapol locos of all the manufacturers that need the most running in my opinion. So I'm going to politely ignore that statement and definitely still run this in. Fitting accessories, it says all detail parts have been factory fitted to the locomotive. It says that it's been fitted with one slotted and one unslotted valance, so that's talking about the ends, and the diagram sort of shows that. We've got one end with the NEM coupling, one end without, and if it's anything like the 52, there will be an option for you to mix and match and swap those over if you want to. But I assume that means that one end will be nice and detailed and the other end will be practical, so that you can actually couple up the loco. It's very smart. And then down at the bottom there's a bit about removing the body. Apparently the body is held on with clips. Hopefully they're good sturdy clips that will only relinquish their grip when they are supposed to. And then on the back, we've got a little bit more internal switch function, so that's for lighting, presumably. Pause and read any of this if you want to. Fitting DCC, maintenance, etc, etc. Looks like it's a 21-pin socket inside. Okay, so yeah, it's not as nice as all of the glossy diagrams that we get on modern Dapol locos, but it still seems to cover all bases. And then that's just a bit about the warranty, which we don't need to go into. Right, so not expecting a massive accessory bag, although there will be the alternative valance to look out for, won't there? Oh, right, there it is. Yeah, and apparently this is going to have quite a complex livery on it as well, which is something that Dapol do quite well, I think. And obviously it's quite easy to research such a modern loco. You don't have to go back through quite so many old photographs and such, do you? But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how they've got on with it. Heavy. I've got to say, it's feeling even heavier now it's in this smaller pack. And just look at the packaging. Look at all of the foam that is protecting this loco. This is a really inexpensive model, yet the packaging so far is above and beyond what other manufacturers offer. Yeah, Dapol, ladies and gentlemen. Always very impressive. Okay, so we have got an accessories bag right here, and sure enough, that does look like a valance in there, doesn't it? In fact, there's a couple. There's a slotted one for the end without an NEM coupling currently, and then there's a realistic one without a slot so that you could remove the NEM coupling if you wanted. Then we've got vacuum pipes inside there, another NEM coupling, and also what looks like a screw link coupling inside there. So many expensive locos don't include it. This one does. That's awesome. And what have we got here? This looks nice. Oh, yes. Look at that. Etched metal nameplates. Dapol, everybody. I'll say it again. This is really inexpensive, and right here we've got an extremely premium feature. It's only basic, but it's such a nice gesture, and if you decide to fit them, they look so much more effective than the tampo printed ones. Hopefully this will still have tampo printed ones though, because I personally don't tend to fit those. Right, we've got a very long hair coming out of this packaging. Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely not mine, is it? Okay, well, this is where you don't run trains on carpet because of all the hair that will wrap around the axles. Well, can't blame that one on me and my carpet. Right, let's see. Is this a more traditional block of ice? I think so. Yeah, this one just opens the normal way. Okay, ready for the reveal? No, because this... Oh no, I can get it. Oh wow. Right, look at this. A lot of things are hitting me here. First of all, the finish looks quality. Yeah, the top of the roof there is shining quite a lot. The second thing is the detail, particularly around these fans. It looks like we've got etched grills on top of the fans and very, very well defined actual fans underneath them. That looks amazing. Right, so we do this. Yep, I think we will. Let's lift this up. God, blimey. Okay, so a few things to say. The weight seems outstanding. I'll bung these on the scales in just a second. Second thing to say, the level of detail is above and beyond what I've ever seen on a Dapol loco before, particularly on the underframe. Third thing, yes, we do have the tampo printed nameplates, so that is fine. The loco looks ready to go straight out of the pack. The other thing is the wheels. What unusual wheels the 68 has. I actually really, really like those. That is awesome. So this model looks outstanding, you know, and this is so far removed from the type of loco that Dapol usually produces. You know, when we've been talking about the Dapol Mogul, the Dapol Manor, yeah, I've never seen something quite so modern and detailed from them before. I suppose those JHA hoppers I looked at were quite modern, but this thing looks more modern and way more complex than that did. Okay, so on first glance, very impressed. Let's have a little bit of background on the 68 in real life, and then we'll take a much closer look at this gorgeous model. The Class 68 was manufactured by Stadler Rail, and 34 were built between 2013 and 2007, and were based on the 2010 Stadler Eurolight design, a Bobo diesel used out in Europe. They came about as the ageing British Rail Class 20 locomotives had become in need of replacement, and other existing designs, such as the Class 66, were deemed to be too inefficient to take their place. Thus, the Class 68 was born, entering service in 2014, and the intention is to actually retain these locos in service as far as 2036. The class is currently operated by DRS, Transpenny Express and Chiltern Railways, and the 68 runs on a single 16-cylinder 3,800 horsepower engine, which generates the power to drive the four 600 kilowatt traction motors. All but 4 of the Class 68 locomotives carry names, and quite grand ones too. As well as splendid, by example, other names include Tireless, Vigilant, Brutus and Lord Precedent. Very, very hard-hitting names, to say the least. So there it is, up close and personal for you, the Dapol Class 68. And you know what? I think splendid is definitely the word for this one. That is certainly the word I would have chosen to describe this model as well. For what I paid, this really is quite splendid. Having said that, there are parts of the model that do betray that this was perhaps slightly more cheaply made than the likes of some Bachmann or Acura scale models that we've seen. And these include the handrails, which do appear to be just made of plastic, quite cheap looking, and if you touch them, they are quite flimsy as well. The screw-link couplings, when I looked at the ones in the detail bag, I thought they were sort of real moving ones, but they are just moulded plastic pieces, which don't look very good, I don't think. True, they're up and out of the way of any moving parts and such, but they just don't really cut it for me. While the finish on the top of the model is quite good and satin, I think the rest of the body does look a bit flat and a bit matte, doesn't it? Not the highest quality finish in the world, but also not the worst. The buffers look quite plasticky, in fact they are made of plastic. Yeah, not the nicest moulding job on those. They are sprung though, yeah, little spoiler. Yeah, sprung buffers. And certainly the quality of some of the components isn't quite up to standard. Nothing too serious, but these things do stop the model from being completely outstanding, in my opinion. And I think the quality of some of the etched parts leaves a little bit to be desired. For instance, you can see the colour of the bare metal at times. So it's clearly not the highest quality model in the world, but then again, when you think just how much cheaper this is than a lot of other models from other manufacturers, I still think the value for money here really knocks the socks off them. For instance, the weight is astonishing. It weighs, listen to this is weird, 668 grams. The Class 68 weighs 668 grams, exactly, no exaggeration. And that makes this the third heaviest locomotive I have on record. It is the second heaviest diesel of all time, beaten only by the Acura scale Class 55, which means all of those much more expensive locos from Bachmann were actually lighter than this. The decoration is also extremely good as well. Look at the ends here, there's quite a bit of complexity here, but it doesn't look that great up close. The technique for achieving this gradient just was not effective up close. Looks great from a distance, but the way the pixels get smaller and further apart just does not look good. I wondered whether the real things look like that, but Googling photos of them, no, they didn't. So yeah, not fantastic up close. There's a lot of printed detail, as you can see. You've got specs there, running number there, warning signs. You've already seen the splendid Tampo print there, and of course we've got an etched alternative to that. Transpennine Express, we've got that lovely print work there, all looks absolutely excellent. And that's not to mention all of the print work that we've got on the fuel tanks and the underframe, which is extremely complex. This has to be among some of the most complex decoration I've ever seen on a model. There's just so much to it. Another feature that is really unexpected on a model of this price is the sheer number of etched grills. We have an awful lot of them. This one, for instance, this smaller one actually has detail behind it, I think, which is a really nice touch. You've got the main grills here, which again are etched, and even though some of the etchings are not of the highest quality, I think generally the sense of depth that you get from real etched grills as opposed to just a moulded grill is really very effective, isn't it? I do prefer this over the moulded ones. And I suppose I'll give you a close-up look at the top grills as well, where the fans are. Yeah, they just look fantastic, and actually the quality of these and the paintwork on those is absolutely fine. They're very, very detailed, aren't they? The bogie detail is also quite impressive too. I mean, we've talked about the wheels, but you can also see we've got the painted axle boxes, which look good. Realistic looking springs, some separately fitted wire and such. That's all really, really cool. Let's take a look at the ends of the model. So we've got the lights, which look pretty realistic, and according to the instructions, there are real working lights on the model as well. You've got more printed detail with this little Transpennine logo there. Loads of buffer beam detail. Look at all of that. Fantastic. Balancers pre-fitted too on both ends. The other end with the coupling is a little bit less detailed, but it's still got quite a bit on the buffer beams, hasn't it? Separately fitted wiper on the front window there. That's a nice realistic piece. You've got more separately fitted detail up at the top here. Again, there's print work here, separately fitted parts, really, really wonderful. I think the cab detail itself leaves a little bit to be desired. There is some detail inside there, but it's certainly nothing too sophisticated, and I can't see anything decorated in there. Now, it's kind of understandable because, I mean, look at these windows. You're not going to see a lot through those, and the plastic that they've used for the glazing is kind of like darkened. You don't really see a lot inside there. Personally, I prefer really intricate cabs because I think that's just really impressive to see. But when you consider the price and when you consider the poor visibility inside the cab, it's certainly not a deal breaker, I don't think. All in all though, I do think for what this cost, £135.99 at the retailers, or even at £159.99 as an RRP, what you actually get for your money here is astounding. And the quality is not too bad. I have not seen much in the way of glue, and the quality issues that I have noticed are relatively minor in the quality of the etchings and the plastic handrails. It's not a massive deal, is it? So overall, for what I paid, I'm very, very impressed. And generally speaking, I'm happy to say that this locomotive is every bit as good as people have told me it is, if the performance is good. At the moment, I've not tried this. I've not even looked at the mechanism. I need to get it down onto the track, get it tested. We'll look what makes this loco run. And if all of that checks out as well, then this is a very, very impressive model. Okay, let's get started. So there is the Dapol Class 68 down onto the track, and the first performance test has already been filmed, and I will show you that in just a second. No spoilers for the moment. Then I went on and did my little look at the mechanism, and I have to say, while there's nothing absolutely terrible about this mechanism, it's certainly far from my favourite. I don't consider it a particularly high quality mechanism. I noticed an issue straight away. There is detail catching on the bogies because it's simply too close to them. Now, I've pulled Dapol up for this before. I think the 121 bubble car had the same issue. What excuse is there for this? I just don't really understand. These details ought to have been moulded rather than separately fitted, because otherwise the margin for error here means that they are colliding with the bogies, and both bogies are the same. The coupling itself looks quite good. You can see it's got this very smooth kinematic action, which is great. However, there's still an issue with the coupling, which you will see later on. Hence the reason why the coupling hook is missing. That was very annoying as well. We've seen quite a few coupling issues with Dapol locos in the past, and this is another example of that. The base keepers on the bogies are just clipped on, not screwed on. Again, there's nothing terribly wrong with that, but it's not my favourite feature. I think screws are better quality. Getting the base off reveals just a plastic bogie chassis, not a metal one, and you can also see the axles have no proper bearings. They sit straight onto that plastic chassis. Now, the chassis is very smooth, I don't think it's going to be causing massive wear, but I still think that bearings would have been a better quality solution. Removing an axle reveals 2 sets of pickups per wheel, so continuity with the track will not be a problem. Very glad to see real actual pickups and not some weird axle-based solution, although bear in mind, obviously, twice the pickups does equate to twice the drag, and let's say if we were to see torque issues during the performance section, this could be a contributing factor. The body removal also relies on the use of clips and not screws. Again, I think screws are just a more long-lasting quality solution. However, the chassis comes out reasonably easily once you have disengaged those screws, and to reveal this very heavy die-cast chassis. No wires connected to it because you've got these spring-loaded contacts on these circuit boards, but again, the circuit boards are not screwed down properly. There's a screw at one end and then a locating lug on the other end, and they're free to rotate, which means if you accidentally move those out of position, those contacts could cause a short circuit. So just use 2 screws, it's a better quality solution. Then we've got the 21-pin socket as well as the switches for the lights. That's all absolutely fine. Here are the lights themselves. We've got LEDs, and there are also some inside the body which you can't see. There's a large chunky motor inside which you also can't see, but you can see the flywheels there. There is one on each side of the motor, and they are very, very large and significant. And then the gauge is fairly reliable at 14.3mm back to back, which is absolutely fine. So for the price, there's not too much to complain about, but I think in the past with Dapol locos, even ones at this sort of price, we have seen far higher quality mechanisms. So slightly disappointing. Let's move on to the actual performance test and I will show you how that went. Okay, let's give this a go. Now to be clear, I have already noticed the issue with the detailing catching on the bogies, so don't expect me to be surprised if it causes problems. I'm hoping it might not though. I mean, obviously the rails are going to be holding the bogies level, might just avoid the problem completely, and certainly until I've filmed the mechanism section, I'm not going to be removing anything. But forwards direction, let's have a look. Does this loco work? Here we go, first ever test. Yes. No. Something's just happened to the front coupling. Did you hear that? The front coupling hook has just literally flown off, but I don't know where it's gone. I heard it, but I can't see it. Oh, here it is. Right. Let's put this back on. Oh, crikey. There we are, there we go. So what caused that then? Yeah, it's off again. So the coupling's drooping so far down that it's catching on the points and also the Hornby power track. Let me make sure I've got this on properly. So yeah, coupling seems to be a bit low. See there, catching on the points, and then it reaches the Hornby power track, and the hook pings straight off. Only Dapol. Only Dapol. So yeah, what do we do? Is the coupling at the right height? Let's see. Wagon that works with other rolling stock. Yeah, it's drooping. I think the height is right, but it's drooping. So classic Dapol coupling right there. If I do it hard enough. Oh, it actually did engage to start with, but now it, oh, there we go. Oh, finally got it. Okay, and then as you can see, when you pull it tight, the coupling then sits up straight. So yeah, just as usual, quite a poor coupling design. We have seen that quite a bit from Dapol. Bit too much movement up and down, as you can see. Okay, so next time the coupling hook comes off, which will of course be immediately, I'll have to leave it off, I suppose. Can't keep refitting it. Right, performance. Sorry, slight tangent there. Performance itself seems lovely. Let's get that hook off. There we go. Yeah, really, really nice. 50% speed. Yeah, seems quite sensible, not too fast, not too slow. I'll tell you what, I've not seen the mechanism at this point, but I can already guarantee there is some beast of a flywheel, or even two, inside there. Because look at this, if I cut the power in front of you, ready for it, 50% power, cut. Oh, yeah, so big flywheels, very free mechanism, that's for sure. Okay, lights. Yes, lights. So we've got cool white lights that come on when the loco's going forwards, red lights in reverse, and we've also got some sort of interior cab light which lights up the seat while the loco is going forwards, or is it both directions? No, just forwards for that, I think. So yeah, that's fair enough. Bit of lighting going on. Very nice. What is the crawl like then? Let's have a look. Obviously this loco has not been running yet. The instructions did claim that the loco doesn't need to be running, but it's going to get running anyway. But before any of that, let's have a look at the crawl. I'm just easing it upwards gently. And more. Okay, so yeah, it seems as though there isn't torque there to get the loco to crawl. It seems as soon as there's enough power for the motor to actually turn, it goes at quite some speed. Let's try that again and slow it down. Slow. So we kind of got it to sustain there, but then it stopped. Slow down. Okay, so there's no torque for a crawl, unfortunately, at the moment. What is the torque like generally? Let's have a look. Finger there, slowly turning up. We're at 50% power there. Move my finger, the wheels turn. Finger there, nothing, no torque. Keep turning up. Alright, so we were at 70 before it spun. So yeah, poor torque, that's what I'm saying. That might improve with running in, it might not. But yeah, at the moment, not very good torque. And funnily enough, we've seen that before with the very heavy models. It's all very well making them really heavy, and it's certainly impressive, but the mechanism has got to be able to drive it. If it's not got a really powerful motor, if the gearing isn't really spot on, then the weight will just kill the loco's torque, as we're seeing here. But the loco does need to run in, so we'll do that. Let's set it for forwards, 30 minutes, here we go. Okay, hoping... Okay, yeah, so the detail is in the way because I heard it sort of ping as the bogies turned on that curve, but it did not cause a derailment. So I'm guessing the loco's extreme weight is enough to overcome the flimsy plastic detailing. So I probably won't have to do anything. I mean, if it once derails, I'm going to pull those pieces off, but otherwise I think I'll just be happy to leave it. Okay, so performance initially seems okay. At 50% speed at least, there is enough torque for this not to slow down on the curves or to decelerate at all on the incline, so that's not too bad. How the loco performs with a load is yet to be seen. We'll try that in a little while after running in has completed. But for now, I'm going to leave this loco to run in. I'll be back in just a second. Okay folks, I am back, and I've turned the loco around now so that the coupling is on the back. I've refitted the coupling hook, and going in reverse at least just now, the hook has stayed in place, which is decent. So pulling power is really good at 0.82 newtons, although as I was measuring that, the wheels actually stalled. They weren't turning. So take that with a pinch of salt. Obviously, if you want to put 0.82 newtons worth of coaches behind this, you actually want the wheels to turn. And in this case, they did not. So yeah, torque not fantastic. Let's have a look and see what the crawl is like now. Let's back up and try it in both directions. Let's see if it's better having run-in. And I'll be surprised if it is, and already it doesn't look like it is. Here we go. So that's really where it's kicking in. It's not impressive. And frankly, we see this all the time with Dapol. A lot of their locos have torque issues. However, here I wouldn't say it's necessarily a weak motor, because the motors don't seem to be weak. They seem to be really large and substantial. I think what it is, it's incredibly heavy. It's got massive flywheels, which are not geared down at all. They are on the shaft of the motor, and it's just not going to have the power to run at slow speeds. And even with a great torque motor, it's really going to struggle to make this loco run well at low speed, and indeed it does. So I don't think there's anything terribly wrong with the motor per se. I just think if the loco was going to be this heavy, it needs a motor and a mechanism that is quite extraordinary, and instead we've just got something fairly standard. So the low end is really disappointing. In fact, it's just non-existent. It's just a coggy mess. You really have to get to about this sort of speed before it's realistic. Now, for most modelers, I think that will be perfectly fine. I don't think this is a massive deal breaker, but obviously my reviews are comparative, and I'll have to say that other locos, even the Accurascale Deltic, in fact, which was even heavier than this, do seem to handle themselves better, particularly at the low end. And let's just see if the torque's any better now that this is running. Let me turn it up to 50, half power. No, absolutely not. See, goes to that speed. So yeah, there's just not enough power there for my liking. But let's try this in a real world situation, because a big finger isn't exactly realistic. So we've got quite a few coaches here. There's 8 of them, so it's quite a big load. Let's go couple up with the coupling hook fitted, mind you, and let's see if this actually works. Hopefully it will. Okay, here we go. Pretty much no hope of getting a smooth coupling, no, or indeed any sort of coupling. Let's just make sure the coach is on properly. Yeah, it is. Loco's on properly. Straighten the coupling hook. Let's try again. I should say I can't really back up very smoothly to this coach. Yeah, the slow speed just doesn't really allow it. Obviously, your mileage may vary on DCC, and if this was a DCC fitted loco from the factory, I would be testing it on DCC, but it's not. I test locos exactly as they arrive, and even with the coupling hook fitted, this is not really happening for the 68, is it? So it's a Dapol coupling in every sense of the word, pretty much useless. Right, I think that's probably done it. Let's try again. Hopefully it will stay coupled, if it is coupled, I think it is. All right, struggling, having to turn up. Let's go for about 40 speed, there we go. Not great. Okay, off she goes around the layout then, fingers crossed with some success. I'm going to be running some other Dapol diesels today, so on the middle line, try and keep it steady, we've got the Dapol Class 22, which is I think one of my best running Dapol diesels. Much smaller and lighter, but yeah, ultimately a better runner I think. And then on the inside line we have the Dapol Class 52, which I think ultimately was a poorer performer because of its derailments. But I think besides that, this is still the better performer. It's not quite as heavy. The torque at the low end is better, I would say, as you can see there. Okay, let's catch up with the 68, see how it's getting on. Okay, 8 coaches, slight incline. I think that's a fair load actually. Let's see how it gets on. No real slowdowns on the curve there, which isn't bad. And even now, coming up the incline, not much of an issue. So actually in a practical circumstance, the torque issues don't seem to be that bad. I still think it's unfortunate because obviously if something derails, and let's face it, that's quite likely given how ineffective the couplings are, then that loco is just going to be stalled. The motor's going to stop, the current draw is going to shoot up. You don't really want that. That's not healthy for a loco, it's not healthy for your controllers. On DCC, that could even destroy decoders, couldn't it? Yeah, I think a loco should always be able to turn its wheels, even if it's stuck. It's just the way it should be. And yeah, this one, not that way at all. But the performance is fine. It's handling a reasonable rake of coaches, and at this higher speed, there's no issue really with the performance. It's staying on the track, seems to be fine. The coupling is a big deal, I think. Yeah, coupling again from Dapol, letting the model down quite a bit. It spoils it. It does spoil the usability of the model. You want to put a loco on the track, back it up to the rolling stock and have it couple. This experience has been far more irritating than that. Generally though, gorgeous looking loco, and ultimately now it is working properly. So I think on balance I'm a little bit disappointed, but overall the loco is doing what it should now. I do think we should take our hats off to Dapol again though for producing not only an inexpensive loco, but an inexpensive loco with a great level of detail, and one that is actually modern. You know, people shouldn't have to just buy a Hornby Railroad loco in order to be able to afford a loco, and so this is a really nice affordable option. Let's have some ratings then for the Dapol Class 68. I've got mixed feelings about this because it's obviously a great value loco with some fantastic details, but in most categories there is one or more things that really drags this loco down. The level of detail though, to a lesser extent, I've given it 4.5 stars because overall it's great. The decoration is out of this world. There's a lot of complex decoration on this one. You've got etched details including the nameplates and the grills. A lot of those look really good. I did knock it down 0.5 star for the slightly plain cab, not a lot of detail in there. The screw link couplings, not very realistic, not great, and the finish isn't particularly convincing, but all of these things are relatively minor on the grand scheme of things. The performance I've given 3.5. There are really good aspects to the performance. At the higher speeds the torque is okay and it's really smooth and quiet without derailing or anything. But at the lower speeds the crawl is not fantastic, there is not a lot of torque there, and we've got issues with detailing catching on the rotation of the bogies, which is not acceptable, so I have had to knock it down a little bit for that sort of thing. The pulling power by virtue of the loco's weight is absolutely fantastic at 0.82 newtons, but I should point out that at that load the loco wasn't moving, it was stalled, so you're not really going to be able to do 46 coaches, but that's the reading, so to be fair I've included it. It's not getting a particularly good power mark though. The mechanism for me is a 3-star. There are good positive aspects of this. It doesn't use traction tyres, it seems to have a chunky motor, it's all-wheel drive, etc, etc. But you've only got clips holding the bogies together, same holding the body on, plastic bogie chassis, no proper bearings, couplings that don't really work properly, so it can't be any higher than a 3-star. In fact, if anything, I might have been quite generous there. Oh, I guess I knocked the quality mark down a little bit for the couplings, maybe, that's probably why. Anyway, yeah, good quality, no glue visible or anything like that. All of the components were fitted properly, and we've got a die-cast chassis, which is really, really heavy, but some of the etched detail and some of the moulded detail wasn't that great, some of the moulded components not brilliant, and like I say, the couplings. So it loses a couple of marks there too. In fact, the only area where this doesn't lose marks is the value. I do think this is still a 5-star locomotive. It's not like you're buying a top quality model at a really low price like we were with some Dapol releases, a good example being the latest Manor, I would say. No, it's not quite that good a value purchase, but overall you still get an awful lot for your money, I think, and that has dragged up the overall score to 7.63 out of 10. Let's put that into the logbook then, where it is 20th place. That is above the last Dapol diesel I looked at, but it's above the Bachmann 7F and below the Small Prairie. It's got a few issues, as per usual with this sort of era of Dapol loco, but generally speaking, at the price, it's hard to go wrong. Although it's not as simple as just saying, go out and buy this, you do need to consider the pros and cons. Well folks, that will just about do it for another review. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got a Dapol 68, please do comment down below. Let me know what your experiences are. Have you noticed any issues with the torque? Have you had problems with the couplings? Have your 68s been fine in that area? I would be very interested to know. Please do let me know. For now though, those were my thoughts on the 68. If you think I've been generous, if you think I've been harsh, please do let me know. But for now, I will say thank you again for watching, and I will see you very, very soon for another review. Alright, cheers folks, you take care.